Welcome everybody to a Tilt webinar with Julia Morris. This is part 3 and she's entitled it A Day in the Life of an AI Assisted Teacher. It's Wednesday the 12th of July, it's 8 o'clock, not GMT, it's BST, it's British Summertime, and we're likely to run for about 90 minutes. So my name is Helen Myers, I'm chair of the Association for Language Learning London branch. We always thank Linguascope for their help in setting up webinars, and we particularly thank Joe Dale, who has done loads and loads over the years, and particularly over lockdown, to help everybody bring us together as a community online. Over to you, Joe, to tell us what you've got to do to help us.
Fantastic. Thanks, Helen. Well, first of all, welcome to everyone coming along for this third session on ChatGPT. It's really lovely to see everyone here, and we can't wait to see your questions, which I will be collecting and putting into a Google Doc. But before we start, I'm just going to do a couple of plugs, if that's okay. The first plug is the Facebook group, which has been going for about a month now, which I set up, called Language Teaching with AI. It's now got 1,300 members.
Wow.
I'm getting about 10 people trying to request to join every day, some of which I'm having to decline because they're not filling in the questions and agreeing to the rules. So as you know, Helen, I just can't have that. I want a safe space for everyone. So that's why if you have tried to apply and I've declined you, then just have another go. Just make sure that you fill in the questions and agree to the rules, and then you can come in. The second plug I was going to give is a live ChatGPT session, which I'm going to be doing at Dr. Challoner's High School in the UK on the 18th of September. I'm just going to put the link in the chat for everyone. And if you fancy coming along to that, then it would be lovely to see you. It's going to be a 3-hour session between 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's very reasonably priced. You can check that out right now. There we are. There's the link to the Eventbrite. So do have a look at that if you're interested. Anybody can come along and run and be at the session live with me and the other delegates. It'd be lovely to see you there. And last but not least, the webinar series, the 4-part webinar series, which I was running in May and in June. The recordings for the June version are still available on the Avant Assessment website, which is a US-based language and assessment company, very big company in the States. And you can still purchase the recordings of those 4 webinars. I'm also going to be running the session again in September, but I haven't decided what the date's going to be yet, because I'm keep getting asked to do different webinars and keynotes and things like that. So it's all very difficult, but I will announce that in due course, probably in August, once I've got all my ducks together. So enough from me, back to Helen, and I can't wait to hear more about ChatGPT from Julia.
Thank you very much, Joe. And I can see how many people we've got from all over the world. It's great to see you. Really lovely when you're telling us which countries you're from. So ALL, if you're a member, please could you put your name in the chat now, or if you're in another country and you belong to an association for language learning, please do advertise it. We think it's ever so important. These are all free of charge. This is where people are really giving freely of their time. They're volunteers, but we are members of the Association for Language Learning. We'd love it if you could join us. So there's a link there, and there's a code as well, so you could join us that way. We've got loads and loads of webinars. One of the questions in the chat just now was being able to access Julia's previous webinars, and yes, you can access them. They're directly on Joe's channel, but also on the ALL London page. If you go onto webinars, you'll find that everything is listed there, and there you'll have a page for each webinar with a link to Joe's video on his YouTube channel, and also all the chat and all the resources which Julia shared. So here we are, a Tilt webinar with Julia Morris. Absolutely great that she's doing this. Here is the description of this. I think this was particularly prompted by the fact that Julia is a practicing teacher. She's doing it now, and she'd love to be able to share exactly the practical way that she uses these things as a teacher. So there are loads of ideas out there we can all get very excited about, but sometimes when you've just got a full day of teaching, it might be a bit overwhelming. And that's what this session is to do with. It's to really focus on practical ways of preparing lessons for the different age groups, as well as some of the teacher admin tasks. and she's a German teacher in a private school in the Southwest. This is what she wrote: a keen early adopter of technology, Microsoft Educator Trainer, part of a focus group in her school. But, you know, what I would say in particularly is this: she does give unstintingly of her own time to help others. And during lockdown, she did this. She presented so much and helped us so much to learn how to use Microsoft. So thank you so much to you, Julia. And over to you now. I'll stop sharing and over to you. And Joe will be looking at the chat in particular. And really, I think here it's something where, Julia, you tell us at what point you would like us to ask questions. I think one of the things we'd really like to do is to find out from you what you do. So other people have lots of experience and be doing things to do with ChatGPT, but we really like to concentrate on what you do. And then we're going to have other sessions, I'm sure, where we'll be able to enlarge on what other people do as well. Is that okay, everybody? Okay, so I'll stop the share and over to you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so my focus for this session really is, as Helen said, to just look at what you can do with ChatGPT 3.5. And the reason for that is that, well, I love playing with technology, and there are so many different websites coming out now that are all based on these new AI tools. Every day there are 10 new tools that you could use, new websites you can sign up for. And yeah, they're really fun to play with. And at the moment, most of them are free, but I do know, or I expect that they will be paid subscription services very soon. I assume that by September, a lot of them you will have to pay for. And I don't really want to kind of get too dependent on these fancy websites when I then know that my department is probably not going to pay for it, and I don't want to pay for it myself. So I really wanted to focus back on what you can actually do with ChatGPT without having to pay anything. I mean, I personally have a ChatGPT 4, so a pro account, and I do really recommend getting that, because I think ChatGPT 4 is much better than 3, especially because you can have plugins and you can now have code interpreter, you can surf the web with it and so on. So instead of signing up to hundreds of different services, I think it would be more worth signing up to ChatGPT 4 and kind of, yeah, focusing on using that. But even if you can't do that, I want to show what you can do with just the free version. So all the tasks I'm doing today, I'm doing with ChatGPT 3, and I'm not going to use any other websites apart from showing you kind of 2 little plugins that I think will just make your life a lot easier. And I'm pretty sure that both of them will stay free, or they are free and they will stay free. But they're just a side little thing. I don't actually have a presentation because my plan is to mainly be on ChatGPT most of the time, and to show you, the different prompts that I use. Basically, all the tasks that I'm showing are a version of something that I've used in my own classes. So I have changed some a little bit just so I don't have to show any student data, for example. So I've made a fake student Excel spreadsheet, but it is all stuff that I have done with my classes. So I've been using ChatGPT, basically since I discovered it in December or so, and I'm lucky that my school encourages the teachers to use it, and we've started kind of presenting it to the students as well. But I think today in the session I will mainly focus on what you as a teacher can do, how to make your life easier and prepare your lessons and so on. So I'm going to let me share my screen. And really, I'm going to base everything on this just simple Word document, which I will share as well. And I will go through some different categories. Let's see how far we get in the time. So I want to first show how you can create sentence builders or make make it a bit faster with using ChatGPT, then I'm going to look at some lesson preparation. So for Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4, and then also, if we still got time, how you can use it in combination with Excel and doing some admin tasks. Okay, so you don't really need to write down any of the prompts, or you don't need to take any screenshots. I'm going to share it, which has all the prompts on it. And also it has links to all the example. So it has links to all the chats. So you can just carry them out from there, or copy them out from there. Okay, so the first thing I want to show is how you can maybe make a vocab list, adapt a vocab list to what you need. So for example, if I go down here to my vocab list, sorry, my document is quite long. Okay, so in my textbook, I've got this vocab list. So it's German, English, and it has some hobbies for year 9, which in our school are the beginners in German. And I want to give this out to my students, or I want to make this into like a Quizlet set, but I don't really like that all the activities here are in the infinitive, because for my students that's not so useful. It just adds that extra step that they have to then think how to put it in the first person. And also in German it's difficult because they have to also swap the word order around, because in German it's to the cinema go, so they would need to know that it's actually to go to cinema and so on. So I don't want it like this. I want it to be in sentences. So normally I would have had to write that whole list out again, but now with ChatGPT we can just quickly put it in here, and we can just say turn this into the first person. So turn all these into the first person. There we go. Let's see if that works. So hopefully it's spitting it out quite quickly. Okay, it's only done the English side here. So we can just keep prompting German side as well. Let's see if it does it. Okay, it's added gern to all of them. So I like doing it, which actually for this activity is quite handy, because it is about what I like doing. I'm not quite sure why it's actually added it. But I can keep on prompting until I have the right thing. So let's make the prompt a bit more precise. So I want to have the whole thing as a table as well, because at the moment I've got a German list and an English list, which I guess I could just copy into a table in Word, but I could also create a table here. So put in English and German into a table and don't add gerne. Let's see if it does it. Okay, so I don't know if you realize that you can create tables in ChatGPT, so that's quite useful. Oh, but now it's gone back to the infinitives. Okay, let me go back to the prompt that I had originally. Let's see if it does it actually correctly with this prompt. So this is not a good start, but hey, let's try that again. Okay, well, at least it's turned the German side into the first person now. So it's written, I go shopping, I laze around, and so on. So I could now ask for the translation and then copy it into a table. So this is one of those things where I think ChatGPT 4 would actually be a lot better at that and would understand more what I want from it, I would say. But it's still, I think, even with all these mistakes, I think this was probably still quicker than me having to write all of them back out again. Another easy way, or another way it can help you when you're creating vocab lists, especially if you want to make a sentence builder activity, is it can sort things, for example, by gender or by category. So, for example, if I want to use this in the sentence builder website, then my vocab has to be in a specific format. So I have to have the German word or the target language word, and then an equal sign, and then the English word. So if I just have sentence, like a vocab list from a textbook, it would take me a while to put all the equal signs in between and to have the English next to it and so on. So again, it can make this a bit quicker with ChatGPT. So in this case, I've written here, rewrite this list, sort them by men and women, and write in the format Mutter equals mother, write only the nouns, because I would then want to copy it into my sentence builder, and I want to have the format kind of, I have a, and then all the female people, like all the female family members in one box, and then all the masculine family members in another box. So let's see if it understands what I want now. Okay, it's not listening very well to me today. It's not really doing what I do. So let's try that again here. Write in the format. My ChatGPT is a bit naughty today. There we go. Okay, now it's done it a bit better. So it's got the family member and then equal the translation, so that helps. And now sort by gender. It just doesn't want to do it today. Okay, keep the format. Let's see. No, it doesn't like it. It did work before, but now it doesn't want to do it. Sort by gender and keep the equal. Let's see if it understands that. Now it's angry. Now it's finally done it. Okay. So, I mean, if you've worked with ChatGPT before, then you maybe know that you sometimes have to kind of re-roll it a couple of times until you actually get what you want. It doesn't always work the first time round. If you're quite new to this, then you might not realize, but you can just click the regenerate response. So I could have done that as well to see if it will do it the second time round. You can also go up here and change your prompt again. So there are different ways you can do, different things you can do if it doesn't quite do what you want. Okay, but now I've got my list that I want, namely the masculine and the feminine family members, and in the right formatting. So I could now put that into my sentence builder or into Textivate or sentence builder website and so on. So I could do something similar if you have, for example, a list with musical instruments and types of music and so on. You can sort it by the different categories, but I leave that for now. Okay, so I said that I wanted to focus mainly on ChatGPT, but here is one of my little extra bits that I would recommend, namely an app called PhotoScan, which I use nearly every day when I do my lesson preparation. So this is not to do with AI, but it's a really good tool to use to get your textbook into ChatGPT. So what it does is just an OCR program. So it means it reads the text off a screenshot. So it's a free program. I've paid £5, so it doesn't have adverts on it, but the adverts are just kind of at the top. So I've used it the last 3 years, I think, with the ads. So they don't get into the way too much. Okay, so what this does is you can go onto your textbook page, for example. So if you want to change the text that is in the textbook, and you can then put it into PhotoScan to get the text off it. So in this case, I've already copied it from a textbook. I'll just do a screenshot. So if you don't know about the snipping tool, if you've got a PC, you can use what is it? What's called now the Windows key and Shift to get the snipping tool, and you can just take a screenshot. So let's say this is our textbook, and now I can go to my PhotoScan app. And the main reason why I really like it is because I can paste things straight from my clipboard in here, and I don't have to save this picture first. So I've got it here. And as you can see on the side here, it has made all this into
A message came up to talk, set to unmute or something.
Right. What's happened? Have we lost?
I think what's happened is we've lost Julia, but presumably
Okay.
she'll be back.
I was worried. I'm just going to stop, pause the recording. Okay, over to you.
actually. Yeah, okay. Well, because we were just talking about the YouTube videos, maybe I'll just quickly show that. So, for example, if we have this YouTube video here of Joe Dale, who's showing a great trick how to create PowerPoints, which I'll show in a minute as well. Let me go to that YouTube video. So we've got double Joe Dale, one Joe Dale within another Joe Dale. Oh, first we get some adverts, but even be quiet. Oh, my computer doesn't like me today. Why is it doing that now?
Would you be able to share your screen, Julia?
Sorry, yes.
Okay.
I will. Sorry. Where am I? So. You need to make me a host again? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh dear. Right, just 1 minute, Julia. Make co-host. There we are. My fault. Sorry.
Okay, so can I do it now? Okay, all good now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so I've got this Joe Dale video here, and let's say I want to get the transcript for it. So it's still on the video, on the advert screen, but even so, I can go down here in the 3 little dots, and then I can go to show transcript, and then it should load the transcript at the side here. And one trick is to go to these 3 little dots here, and then you can toggle off the timestamps, which is quite useful. So I now got the whole the whole transcript here without the times. I can just copy and paste the whole lot. So I'll just do this part, and then I can go to ChatGPT, and it's not letting me get there now. How do I get rid of the thing at the top?
Right there. Normally, you've just got to sort
The
of
taskbar.
hover. You
Yeah.
can hover, and then on the more, you can then say that
Okay.
you want to remove the floating.
Yes. So hide. There we go. Okay, that's better. Then I can get to my chat. So I can now put in the transcript and say, write this out as corrected text, and I just paste it all in. So at the moment it's a bit annoyingly formatted, and then now it's changing it, and it's taking out all the spelling mistake that the automated transcript has put in, and so on. I mean, there's still a couple of mistakes, like it didn't really recognize the name that was mentioned there, but apart from that, it should make quite a good text. So I can now do all kinds of tasks with this if this was a learning video, and I don't know, unjumble it or put in gaps and so on. Okay, so to come back to the screen, the the screen OCR. So if I put this back into my photo scan, so this is really a good way to adapt any of your textbook activities. So I've put it back in here. You can say here without the line breaks, which is also quite handy. So if you have something that is in like shorter or like smaller paragraphs, then you can turn it back into the text like this. Okay, so I can now put this back into ChatGPT, and I can say that I want to make activities out of this sentence builder. So create 5 sentences using these words only. It does have a tendency to add in extra words. Let's see if it sticks to these words or not. So this is a little sentence builder about my name is, and I like playing video games, I like skateboarding, and so on. Okay, so it has more or less stuck to it. It has added a little bit at the end saying these activities that I don't like doing. So even though the word activity wasn't in the original text, but apart from that, most of the text are the words that I had in my list beforehand. So it is now really easy to create texts that are based on a sentence builder. So especially if you're doing the kind of the Conti style language teaching, which is based on lots of sentence builders, this is one way of getting example text that you can then use for your input flooding and so on. Or even if you're not using that method, just for some reading activities or speaking activities, if you read it out. And the nice thing is I can easily regenerate the response to get a different kind of similar text. And over here, I can switch back to the first one. So I've got 2 different texts now. I mean, in this case, it has kept them very similar, but I could just say something like, write a similar one for a boy called Max. Because in this case, she's called Lisa. So let's have Max and let's see what hobbies he's got. Okay, so it's made up another place where he lives and a few different hobbies that he likes or doesn't like. So now I've got these 2 different texts, which I could then give to my students. And I can also say, give me 5 questions on those 2 texts. So give me 5 questions about Lisa and Max. Okay, and it's given me 5 questions. So what are the hobbies of Lisa? Where does Max live? What does Lisa like doing with her friends, and so on. So it's done them in German, which actually might be quite good depending on the level of your students. Or I could just prompt now and say, please do this in English, or I can just run it through a translating website. So there's a really easy way of how you can take a sentence builder that's in a textbook and turn it into a reading task plus some activities. Okay, then so I'm in Joe's Facebook group, and in that group and in some other AI groups, there seem to be a lot of questions about how can I use ChatGPT to make PowerPoint presentations. And there are lots of very cool tools where you can just go in and make a PowerPoint. It will create a PowerPoint presentation for you. So there's websites called, one's called Tome, I think, and there are lots of other ones as well, which you literally just have to put in a topic, I don't know, volcanoes, and it will generate a whole presentation. The problem with all these websites, I find, is they don't really work for language learning because they're always based on making presentations about a topic like volcanoes or the digestive system. They aren't really designed for creating translation tasks or reading tasks in foreign languages. So it might still be easier to kind of generate the task yourself and then turn them into a PowerPoint. And I show you how to do that. And as I mentioned, this YouTube video by Joe is very useful.
on how to do that. Because last time in our last webinar, we couldn't quite work out how to do the formatting, but now we know, right, Joe? Okay, so what you do is, let's take, what shall we take? Let's take some of our vocab list, maybe. Can we do this on here? Sorry. Okay, so let's say I've got a translation task, and I've got 5 sentences that I want the students to translate from a PowerPoint presentation. So I want to make maybe a mini whiteboard task. So let's say, what is Fußball? That's my first question. My second question is, what is Basteln? And so on. So I put in my questions, and now I can highlight them. I go to styles, and you need to make sure that they are formatted as heading 1. And now I can save this whole thing as just like a normal Word document. Let me just put this somewhere. And you can then turn any Word document into a PowerPoint presentation. So if you go into PowerPoint, then you can import it from this Word document. And because I've highlighted or I have formatted each of the questions as heading 1, it will then turn that into the title of the slide. So that's an easy way of doing that. So obviously it would be even quicker if I get ChatGPT to write my 10 questions or whatever. So I could say, write me 10 translation questions about hobbies. Try that. Sorry, my computer is still a bit slow. Okay, so now I'm PowerPoint. I go to new slide and make sure that you click the little arrow underneath. You go slides from outline. If your computer likes you, then you can do that. There we go. And then I'm able to load that document that I've just created. Except it needs to be closed. Try again. So slides from outline, open this. Actually, I'll do the test outline, which I've made earlier. Okay, and now it has made the titles that I've formatted as heading 1, it has made into the heading, and anything that I've formatted as heading 2 or heading 3 are now the text in the PowerPoint presentation. So it looks a bit boring now, but if you just use the inbuilt designer, then you can really quickly make it look quite nice, and it will also sort out any problems like here that the text is outside the slide. If you just use the designer, it will make it that it's within the slide a little bit more. So that's one easy way of getting your PowerPoint presentations from a Word document, which possibly was created by ChatGPT, without having to pay for any extra kind of websites or subscriptions. Yeah, so let's say I want to prepare my Key Stage 3 lesson now. So one little idea is you could really quickly get ChatGPT to write you a little start activity, and I want them to be would you rather sentences. And because our topic is family, I want them to be on that topic. And so I've said here, make it suitable for beginner learners of English. So I'm keeping it in English now, so you can kind of see what it comes out with, even if you don't speak any German. So see, it's really quickly generated them. So would you rather have a big or small family? Would you rather spend a day at the park or at the beach? So these ones are nice very easy questions, because I said it should be for beginner learners. So out of those 10 questions, I would maybe now choose 5 of them, run them through a translation website, or just ask ChatGPT to translate them into German. And then I've got a really nice speaking activity to start my next German lesson with my Key Stage 3 class. And they can just ask each other in pairs, and they practice a few some of the vocab to do with families, and they also practice the phrase, I would rather have this, or I would rather do this and this, or I would prefer to do this and this. So this is a really nice and quick way of doing it. And because ChatGPT is making it, it's so fast, and I can just make it for any topic. I mean, if I have another class and they're doing the topic of school, I just change it to that. Or even if I have a 6th form class and they have the topic of, I don't know, cultural traditions of Germany, I could put that in as my topic, and it can generate those little speaking tasks. And with a more advanced class, I can then turn this whole task more into a discussion and say, well, would you rather, I don't know, celebrate Christmas with your family or on your own? And then they can give a few more reasons why, or why Christmas is important to them, and so on. So it would be a really good way of doing speaking tasks with them. Okay, so we've already talked about how we can use ChatGPT to correct an OCR. So I don't need to show that again. One thing that we tried to do last time in our first or second webinar on ChatGPT was trying to create gap fill activities. And several people were trying it out and having very mixed results. And I had the same problem, that sometimes it either puts in too many gaps or not enough gaps, or it does kind of weird things. So I found the easiest way is if you actually tell ChatGPT which words you want to have gapped, which makes a lot more sense, because you as the teacher probably know better kind of which words you want the students to practice. And so what you can do is you put in your text, and then you put a symbol, so for example, a hashtag in front of all the words that you want to have as a gap. And then in this way, you can control much more how many gaps there will be. So what I've done here is given it a prompt, write out the text, but turn the words with a hashtag into gaps. Let's see what comes out, and if it does it. There we go. That worked quite well. So I've got all the gaps here, and they're exactly the same words, like the second one there and so on. It's exactly the same words that I've put a hashtag next to. It hasn't given me the option, so I could do that. Give me the missing words. There you go. And now it's filling it in. Give me the options. Let's see if it does that. Well, at least it's giving them to me in bold. Just the missing words. There you go. Come on. No, it doesn't want to do it. Well, it's probably not the best for making gap fills. I think last time someone had a good Chrome extension. Do you remember what it was, Joe?
Yeah, so there's a Google Docs extension which I normally use at this point called Close It, which is CLOZEIT, Close It. So if you go to Google Docs and go to extensions and then get add-ons and do a search for Close It, you'll find it. And then you can then just copy and paste the text that ChatGPT generates, put it into a Google Doc, run the extension, and then you just go through and highlight the words you want to be replaced by gaps, or you just highlight it once, to click on the Format Painter option, which looks like a paintbrush top left, and then you just double click all the words which you want to highlight, and then you click on the button on the pane on the right hand side, which is part of the extension, and it replaces all the words with gaps and makes a vertical list underneath the text with all the words there as well. So it's a really good extension for this sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it works in ChatGPT, but having something like that is does make it a little bit more reliable, I guess. Yeah. Another cool idea that I saw on, I think someone suggested on Twitter, is using ChatGPT to generate the answers for a Kahoot, for example, because that always takes a long time to turn the to fill in all the wrong answers. So what you can do is on Kahoot, when you're creating questions, there's an option that says create from template, and then you can download this Excel spreadsheet, which looks like this, and then you can fill in the answers here, and then you upload it to Kahoot, and it automatically fills in your quiz. So this is already a much quicker way than creating each answer individually, because you can just copy and paste wrong answers much quicker in here. But you can even get ChatGPT to do it for you. So you can actually just copy the top bit here and give this to ChatGPT to fill in. So I've already prepared the prompt here. So I need this prompt and then my vocab list. So let's see if we can check some of this. Okay, so my prompt is, these are the columns in my Kahoot table, and then I just pasted in what all the columns are. And it looks really messy because it just copied the tops of the columns next to each other. But actually ChatGPT is quite good at still realizing where the different columns are. I think it just recognizes from the tab or from the gap where one column is and where the next column is. So, and then I said, now create a table with the same headings and fill in the English into the question column based on the vocab below. Fill in the 3 columns with wrong but likely translations that sound similar. One of the columns should contain the correct answer. So here we go. No, wrong one. So I put in my vocab list underneath. Let's see if it comes up with something good. No, it's not done it as a table. As a table. Let's try again. Okay, now it's making it as a table. So that's a bit better. Okay, so it's filled in questions, so it's automatically written it as a question as well, which is really nice. It's said, what is the German translation of all of the questions? And then it's chosen 4 of the options from my vocab list there. At the moment, it's showing me the correct answer as an actual word, but it would be relatively quick to just replace it with numbers, which is what Kahoot wants. So I can now take that whole thing and stick it over in Kahoot. And it is sometimes quite difficult to copy a table from ChatGPT, because if you just do this copy symbol up there and you then try to put it into a Word document, unfortunately, it doesn't recognize it, that it's an actual table, and it will turn it into that. But actually, I found a really super easy trick is to also copy a little bit of text that's next to the table, and then you copy the table. So even if you just copy a little bit of your prompt or any other words that are outside of the table, and weirdly, this then helps to copy it correctly as a table. And I can now just delete this bit. And if, I mean, the table looks a bit weird, it's kind of white background and double lines and so on, but I can just go onto there, go to table design and turn it back into the normal design. And now I've got my table here, which I can then also copy over into my Kahoot template. Here, let's put it in there. There we go. So I've got it all correct. I would just need to change the correct answers here to number 1, 3, 5, and so on, and maybe fill in a time limit, which I didn't tell ChatGPT what time limit I wanted, so I didn't fill it in. But it's definitely a lot quicker doing it this way than having to write out all the 4 answers for each one. with ChatGPT 3, it sometimes has a tendency to always put the correct answer in number 1, which is a bit annoying. But I think this time it has actually done it correctly. Yeah, like lesen is the 3rd one here, paint is the 2nd one. Yeah, so it's jumped it up a bit more, which is quite good. And again, ChatGPT 4 is a little bit better at understanding those kinds of things. But as you can see, it does work with ChatGPT 3 as well. Okay, so let's see. So if this was my end of my Key Stage 3 lesson, maybe I can play this little Kahoot. Then I could, shall I skip a few things because we're already an hour in now. My computer's taking up so much time. Maybe, well, actually, I do want to show how to do the retrieval roulette. So let's say this was the end of my Key Stage 3 lesson, so maybe year 9. Now I'm starting my Key Stage 4 lesson. So I've got my GCSE class and I want to create a little start activity for them. And for that, I could use a retrieval roulette as it is called. So I've got my Excel spreadsheet here, and in there I've copied in all the vocab of the whole year that they've done so far, or that are in the whole course. So I've just copied all the vocab lists from, so one side is the German, one side is the English. Doesn't let me go to the top, but never mind. And I want to have a sheet where I get 4 or 5 random pieces of vocab, which I can use as a start activity for them to do a translation task and to have this retrieval practice of just doing random stuff that they have maybe done a while ago. So what I can do is I can use this prompt here. Let's see if we go with that. So I have a spreadsheet called vocab with questions in A1 and answers in A2. So it's always quite good if you're working with Excel to exactly tell it in which boxes things are. It just makes it a bit easier. And up to row 1348. So this is how many bits of vocab I've got in my list. On a different sheet, I want to show 10 random questions. Can you make me a formula? So ChatGPT is not only good at speaking, but is also very good at making Excel spreadsheet formulas, which normally, well, I wouldn't be able to come up with this one, definitely. And the good thing is, it normally shows them in this extra box, which is even easier to copy, and it will tell you exactly what you need to do with it. But I kind of already know, namely, I need to put it into my empty sheet, and I just paste it into the top here, and I can pull it down, and now I've got 12 words that are completely random from this big list of all the vocab from the whole year. And so it's chosen them from the whole list up to 1348. But let's say I know my students have only done the first chapter, so they are maybe only on word 87. I can easily go in there and I change that big number to 87. So I only got words from the first chapter. So I need to change it there and change it here. 87, there we go. Oh, no, maybe not. Well, I can ask ChatGPT to change it. Okay, it only goes up to 87. Let's see if it can adapt it for me. Okay, so it's adapted it. Let's see if you can make an easier version of this. Now, I think I put an extra sign in there. There we go. I think this one should be better. Okay, so I think maybe the bottom ones here, no, it's still showing me the wrong one. There we go. Let's try that. Okay, this one's better. So my first chapter is about sport. So if I look at this vocab now, I can see that all of these are, no, my first chapter is school. So I can see that these are all related to school. So it has only chosen from the first bit of the vocabulary. So this is a really easy way of now making this start activity. And let's say I don't really want these words like this, but I want them into sentences to make it more useful really, and to practice the grammar as well. I could also do that in here. So I can just copy them back over and say, make these into very short sentences. See if it comes up with something good. No, not really. Sentences, come on. Okay, that's better. So it's now making me lots of short sentences that I could use for a translation task, for example. Okay, are there any questions at the moment?
No, all the questions that have come up, I've answered all of them, so we're good to go at the moment.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so another thing where I can use it is to correct students' work. So if you have to do lots of marking, then that might be quite helpful. The problem obviously is that it needs to be typed work, which is not so easy to get for many teachers. I mean, for me in my school, it's slightly easier because the students are using iPads, so they can type any text anyway. Where actually we want to discourage them from typing everything, because then they're not really used to handwriting for their exams and so on. But if you do have a typed text, so for example, when you have maybe sixth formers writing your longer text and they're typing it up, you can use it for correcting that. So for example, my sixth formers have written me essays about the book they're studying, but one of them had so many mistakes in it that I actually found it quite difficult to understand sometimes what they wanted to say. And actually ChatGPT was quite good at helping me work it out. And this way I could then at least give her a bit more feedback on her content as well, and also show her the corrected answer. So here's another text that I've kind of made up. So this is an English text which has lots of spelling mistakes and some grammar mistakes in it as well. So we can pretend that this is our Key Stage 4 text, and we can put it in here and get it corrected. Okay, so correct this, and then we'll get it out. So instead of when I was younger, I like to play football with me friend. Okay, so this is the wrong version. It then said, when I was younger, I like to play football with my friends. So this is a great way of showing the students, this was your original text, this is your answer. And this is where I'd like to show you an extra extension that is quite useful, which actually I think I've got on my other account, maybe in here. So there is a Chrome extension which is called Edit GPT. So Chrome extensions, despite the name, you can use them in Microsoft Edge as well. So if you're using either the Chrome browser or the Edge browser, you can install them, but you do need to download them from the Chrome store, and they are then part of your browser. So I've got the link to it in my document, how to download this Edit GPT extension. So let's try correcting our text again. So, and then I'll show you what it does. Correct this text. So, okay, so now it's doing the correction again. But now, because I've got this extension installed, I now have this extra button, which is editing enabled. And you can see now that it shows me all the things it has corrected. So I could now go through it one by one if I wanted to accept the edit or not. But also, as you can see, because it's doing it in green and red, it's amazing. If I just screenshot the whole thing and then give this to the student, send them this by email or put it in their OneNote, and they can see straight away which of the words they misspelled. So this is a really easy way of doing it. And if you don't want to, or you can't install this Chrome extension, another way of doing it is if you put it into Word, and you create 2 Word documents, one with the original, one with the corrected version, and then you can do a comparison between the 2, and it will also show like this and cross out the words that were changed. But obviously with this extension, it's a lot easier to get a really quick overview of what has been corrected here. So and even if it's not for corrections like this, it could be used if you're editing your own texts. So for example, if you've written an email and you ask ChatGPT to improve on it, you could also use this extension to see what changes it has made, and you can then accept them or reject them, and really adapt the email to the style that you want. So that's a great way of doing it. Also, if you're using ChatGPT for correcting, you could even ask it for some suggestions, so it can give some more feedback. So I've put in, give me 5 suggestions to the writer of the original text on how to improve, give specific examples from the text. So this, okay, now I need to turn edit off again. Okay, so it's come up with 5 things like use the past tense consistently. And then it's giving me an example here where the past tense wasn't used, correct possessive pronouns, and so on. So I could now give this whole thing to the student and say, here's some ideas, what do you need to work on? Or even if I don't want to give this to the student because maybe it's a bit too long or whatever, I can read it quickly and maybe shorten it or write it out in my style. And I then also know what kind of things the students still need to work on. Because really, we don't want to automate the process too much, because we as teachers still need to know what are the students struggling with, because otherwise what's the point of them doing the task really if we're not actually then well, I mean, I guess they still get the feedback, but it's also good for us to know and to at least read the ideas here. But it makes it a lot easier to give the students concrete examples of parts of the text where they have got it wrong and what it should be instead. So yeah, a great way of feedback, and definitely better feedback, even though it's created by a machine really. I mean, realistically, normally I would just copy and paste the same feedback onto 5 students' work and just say, remember your capital letters, or remember to move the word order around, and so on. And actually this way is a lot more personalized to that individual student than I would probably normally be able to do with the time that I have. Okay, so we've already talked about YouTube scripts. I think I'll skip this for now. I mean, lots of people have been talking about how you can use it for conversation practice. So you could get your students to actually log into ChatGPT and get it to practice for their speaking exams, both at Key Stage 3 and at Key Stage 4. I've recently written a blog post on using AI-powered language learning apps, and even though I said at the beginning it's better to focus everything, on ChatGPT, I do recommend having a look at some of those language learning apps, because I think especially for conversation practice, it can be worth having one of those specialized apps. Even if the students have to pay for it, I would still recommend it to the students, because it does have extra features like giving certain feedback, giving transcripts of what they're saying, or being able to actually speak into a microphone, getting the answers from ChatGPT spoken out loud. I mean, there are ways of how you can do it on a computer as well by adding different add-ins. But yeah, there are some quite good language learning apps out there. But even if they're just using ChatGPT, here's a way they could use it. So you are my German conversation teacher, ask me very simple questions. After each of my answers, 1, write a corrected version of my answer, and 2, ask me a follow-up question. So let's see if it does that. Okay, it's asking me lots of things. Okay, it's playing the student as well. Let's say, wait for my answers. Wait for my answers. So it's a bit too it's a bit too enthusiastic. Okay, so wie heißt du? Let's give me a let's say I give an answer. Ich heißt, and I'll make a mistake in it. I'll put the wrong ending. Okay, so it's now done what I told it, namely A, give me a corrected version, and B, ask me a follow-up question, which is quite nice. And it's giving me the question in English as well, which I could ask it to not do that, but actually maybe for some practice that's quite good. So it's asking me about 3 times. So I could say, I play football, and again, I put a mistake in it. Let's see if it corrects it. Okay, so it's giving me a corrected version and then gives me a follow-up question. How often do you play football and so on? So it's quite a nice thing to recommend to the students to practice with it, or you could even just do it as a start activity in class if the students don't want to sign up for it, or you don't want them to sign up, because I think the rules are you have to be at least 13, and even then you need to have your parents' permission. So technically we should not ask the students to sign up to it if they're under 18, but at least this way you could do it as a little starting task together. Okay, then so I would say the area where I've used ChatGPT the most is really in my sixth form lessons, because there's the topics that we're talking about there are very complex, and for some of them I don't really know the answer either, because for example when we're discussing immigration and racism and so on, there may be areas that I don't know that much about. So that's quite a good way of using ChatGPT, or using ChatGPT is quite a good way of finding other ideas that I maybe wouldn't have thought of. So for example, when we're talking about immigration, I use this prompt here. So I'm preparing a lesson for A-level German students. We're discussing immigration. Give me 5 pro and contra arguments in German, each with a title. And let's try that out. Oops, no, not deep L. There we go. So, oh no, I'm still thinking I'm talking about the other thing. Let's open a new window that makes it clearer. So here we go. Okay, so now I've got some pro and contra arguments, and it has done just what I wanted, namely a little title and then a short explanation of what this means. So for example, here it's saying it has economic advantages, and then it's explaining how immigrants can help. So now I want this as a table with the titles in one column and the arguments in the second column, also put them in a random order. Let's do that. Okay, so it's writing all the whole thing out again. And now I've got a great task for my students, because A, I can get them to read the argument and match them up with the title. And then also to decide for each one, is this a pro argument or a contra argument for and against immigration? So that alone would already fill most of my lesson, especially if I then go through here and pick out a lot of the vocab and so on as well, which I can then also ask ChatGPT to do. Write a vocab list based on this table in English and German. There we go. Let's see if it knows what germ means. Yeah, okay, it's given me, I'm not sure why it's split it into English and German, but has given me both of them anyway. One is with the German at the front, one is with the English at the front. Well, good. So I've got lots of good vocab here that I could get my students to learn or to practice in this lesson about immigration. Another great way really to use ChatGPT to bring in more authentic material, I would say, is that it can summarize any kind of news article that you find. So, which normally it would take really long to read the news article, to shorten it, to make sure that the level isn't too high and so on. But instead, I can now do this all within a few seconds. So for example, here, I found this newspaper article. It's from last month, so it's reasonably up to date, definitely more up to date than what I would get in the textbook. It goes with my topic of migration, and I can now copy the whole thing into ChatGPT and get it to A, translate it into German, and B, shorten it a lot. So that's a great way of doing that. And actually, there's also another way of doing it. Instead of copying the whole thing into ChatGPT, I could also use Bing Chat. So if you haven't kind of tried that out yet, I would definitely strongly recommend that you sign up to Bing Chat. So for that, I think you need to have a Microsoft account, but if you've got like a Hotmail email address, then you can just use that. I think there might still be kind of like a little waiting list that you have to sign up to try out the new Bing, but I think within a day or so you will get access to it. And you then have this extra symbol in the corner here if you're using the Microsoft Edge browser, and you can just open it on any website. And the great thing is that it can read the website, and it automatically has already made me a page summary. So whatever page you go on, it will straight away create a summary of that page, which is just amazing. And what is really nice about Bing Chat, I find, is that it always gives you sample questions that you could ask next. So it A, saves you writing, and B, it also saves you having to think maybe of what you might want to ask here. And obviously it has the really big added bonus that this is connected to the internet. So you can get it to look up things online, and it is a lot more up to date, while ChatGPT 3 cannot access the internet. So you would have to copy and paste things in there, while this one can get to it. So definitely, yeah, I would definitely recommend signing up to Bing Chat. And I would suspect that this will stay free as part of the kind of Microsoft package. And I think they're really trying to outcompete Google with Bing. And yes, I think they are on the right track, that Bing is actually getting more attractive as a search engine now than Google, because it has that built-in AI, which is powered by ChatGPT 4 in the background. So actually, this is kind of a cheap free way of getting ChatGPT 4 without having to sign up to the Pro account. Okay, so this is one way of bringing more authenticity into my classroom. Another way that it could help you with your Key Stage 5 classes, so your A-level classes, is if they are preparing their IRP. So for people who may be from other countries, that's the part of the A-level exam where the students have to choose a research topic. And I mean, obviously, the students aren't allowed to use ChatGPT to write the whole research for them, but I think it should be okay for them to do a little bit of brainstorming with it. So what the students sometimes find quite difficult is to kind of narrow down the topic they want to do. So they might know they're interested in football, or they might know they're interested in skiing or into history or something, but they need to have a kind of a smaller topic that A, is connected with a German-speaking country or a country of the target language, and B, it needs to be narrow enough that they can research it while they're doing their A-levels. So one good way is giving it some example research titles. So I've just copied here from the AQA exam board lots of example questions. So I'm going to feed this into ChatGPT, and I'm saying here are example research titles for the German A-level, and then I'm posting them in there. Okay, and then at the end, I'm putting, my student wants to do something about skiing in Austria. Can you suggest titles? And then I just send it off. And now it's come up with 10 different ideas that my student could research, like the economic impact, cultural phenomenon, the role of skiing schools, okay, maybe a bit too niche, but ski tourism and climate change and so on. So it definitely is a good way of getting the student to start thinking about their topics. Okay, are there any questions?
Yeah, Julia, for the Bing chat, can you clarify how to actually do that? So
yes.
I've got I've got Bing open. I've got a BBC News article, and I've clicked on chat, and nothing sort of happened. I've just said, "Can you summarize the web page?" It's just given me a summary of what a web page is, e.g., an HTML document, etc. Could you maybe show us how to enable it?
Yes. So, are you using the Edge browser, or are you using something?
I'm using the Edge browser. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got this B button in the corner.
I have, but it's got a white background or a light background with a sort of sky blue B, so it doesn't look exactly like yours. But maybe that's because of the skin you're using.
Yeah, I think if you look for the new Bing, I think that's the page where you can sign up for it. This one just says try it now. It's hard for me to see because I'm already signed in. So
I mean, I'm signed in.
Yeah.
And I've got that button.
Yeah, but it looks different.
Well, it's not summarizing the web page. Did you say summarize the web
yeah,
page?
No,
I do it automatically.
Somehow sometimes it does it automatically and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. I mean, can you not say what is on this page? Or what is this page?
Yeah, I could try that. Because it says ask me anything, but then what? Hang on, let me just go back. Right, okay, so
I'll delete that.
This page. So it says searching your page for information. It says, I'm sorry, but I don't have access to the web page you're currently viewing. Can you please tell me the URL or the name of the web page so that I can help you better? So maybe if I try putting the URL in.
Yeah. What kind of page are you on? Are you on BBC
Just the
News?
BBC website.
Huh. Not sure.
Never mind. I'll work it out. It's a great feature. There's other ChatGPT extensions which will allow you to do like a Google search, and then it will then do a ChatGPT search as well at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for mine, it goes, it shows me the page summary straight away. So if I just go to like a random Wikipedia, let's go to the atmosphere of Mars here. It should show me stuff about this page. Yeah, so it just summarizing this. And then I could ask it any questions about this page, really. I mean, it even gives me the example questions here. How does it affect life? How was it formed? And so on. and then it should be able to read what it says on this page. What does this page say about the composition of the air? Let's ask it that. Yeah, it does say it is searching your page for information.
Yeah, that's brilliant. It's working brilliantly for you. It's just not working.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I did have to sign up for it at some point to have access to the new Bing. So I'm not quite sure.
I think I did that as well, but it's okay. I'll work it out.
Yeah. I mean, the disadvantage is that, as you can see down here, it says 1 out of 30. So you can only ask it 30 questions about one kind of page or one kind of topic. And then it cuts you off and you then need to start a new topic or a new chat. So there's a little bit of a limitation there. But apart from that, it is using the best version of ChatGPT in the background. So it is a good way of getting it for free.
Cool.
May I just interrupt a moment, please? Just to say, we're coming up to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely happy, totally happy for you to carry on for as long as you like and for people to stay here as long as they like. But almost, I just think on behalf of people who may have to go, and I'm going to have to be one of them, I'm afraid. I want to say thank you ever so much, rather than people just slipping off and not being able to say that. But equally, are you okay to carry on, Julia? Because I'm sure that Joe could be, he's the Duracell. He can go on and on and on. But how about, I know you've got, you're having to feed your family earlier on, so I'm not sure how you are.
No, I'm okay. I mean, I know it's already your second webinar of the day,
but
isn't it?
It's just I've got a visitor here, and I'm about to have dessert. So I've really enjoyed it, and I just wanted to give. I'm sure there are other people who may be in my situation who would want the opportunity to say thank you. So if people do have to go now, we totally understand. I especially understand. I mean, it's just been brilliant. The things that you've shared are superb, and just as a language learner as well. Even if you're not teaching, you could use these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the hostship over to Joe now, and because this is being recorded to the cloud, it should all still carry on working. I'm not going to switch off the computer though, just in case. Okay,
that's fine.
So thank you so much.
Enjoy your dessert.
Thank you. And thanks to everybody else.
Okay, well, yeah, if you don't mind, I'll carry on. The last few bits are about how to use ChatGPT more for admin kind of purposes. So I'm finished with the task about preparing lessons now, but I wanted to show a few tricks how to use it in Excel and how to do other kind of admin tasks that are maybe normally quite boring and take quite a long time, and you can speed them up a lot with this. So yes, I hope that will be helpful as well. So I've already showed a little bit that ChatGPT is very good at writing formula for Excel. So for doing the kind of math that you need in your spreadsheets. And I'm sure we all have lots of spreadsheets with lots of data of homework results and exam results and so on. And we sometimes need to do some math on that and analyze the data we have, the different skills and so on for writing reports or writing a summary for our exam, kind of exam review and so on. And ChatGPT can really help with that, especially if you're not very good with Excel formula, if you never quite sure how to add up columns or how to work out percentages and so on. It's really easy to do that. So what you can do is, if you have got a spreadsheet like the, where's my spreadsheet? So let's say you have your mark sheet like this. So you might be pleased to know that all these people are not real. They're all made by ChatGPT. And I just got it to make up random names and random grades and exam results. Let me unhide them here. Hide. Okay, so let's say we've done a year 10 mock exam. So we've got a listening, speaking, writing, and so on, all the percentages. And let's say I haven't got the overall yet. I want to work out what their average percentages over the 4 different skills but I'm not very good with those kinds of things. So I don't really know how to do that. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT. It does help, as I said before, to tell it exactly in which kind of box you're starting. So in this case, my results start in D4. I mean, you can change it later, but it's easier if you tell it, because otherwise it will always assume that all your data is in A1, and then your formula won't work. So let's tell it straight away that it's in D4. So where's my thing? Here we go. So I put this, let's have a new chat. So in Excel columns, D4, 5, 6, and 7, show me average, show me percentages, percentages, and I want the overall average. Write me a formula. Let's see what it does. Okay, so actually in this case, it's a super easy one. I just put average and then the columns I want. So some of you might have already known that before, that you can use this, but not everybody knows all their Excel formula off by heart. So it's an easy way of getting something from just describing what you want to turning into a formula. So if I put it in there, it's given me my average over the whole thing. Let me, oops, no. And I can then just drag down this corner to fill in the whole of this spreadsheet here. So now I've got all their overall results. So now I want to maybe do something more complicated. Namely, I also want to get the, I want to get their grade boundaries. Okay, so for that, I need to feed some of the data into ChatGPT. And obviously there's a problem with privacy and with data protection here, because if we're giving it student names and data, then the people in OpenAI, they are able to see any of our chats, because when you sign up to it, they do tell you that they can use any of your chats for their training purposes. So you need to be careful with what kind of data you put in there. So either you kind of make it anonymous by changing the names, or at least put on the incognito mode, so to speak. So they've only added this more recently after the EU threatened to ban ChatGPT from the EU for not complying with GDPR. So they've added this now, that if you click onto your username, you can go to settings, and then where it says data control, there is this chat history and training, and you can turn that off, which means now that anything that you put in will not be used for their training. So it is kind of more private now. I'm not quite sure what the legal situation is. I don't know if Joe knows anything about this. I mean, you probably should still not put in the whole name. But as far as I know, this should not be saved if I put anything in here. So once I clear this chat, it should kind of disappear. Do you know anything about this, Joe?
So I, like yourself, yeah, that's what I know as well. That's my understanding. So I think lots of people have been talking about this in various Facebook groups. So absolutely, don't put in personal information. If you are going to put in names, put in nicknames or put in different names, not the actual names of the actual students. But I think there's a real issue around if you're trying to like analyze data from students and things like that. I think you just need to make sure that anything that you do adheres to the e-safety policy in your school, and that you check with the person in charge of that, of what you're trying to do with ChatGPT, because you absolutely don't want to, be accused of anything or inappropriate conduct or what have you. So what you suggested about turning off the history, I think is a really good idea. But I think all schools have to update their policies based on how ChatGPT is changing everything, but definitely not putting any personal data into ChatGPT for sure.
Yeah. So with the history turned off, it's slightly safer, but yeah, you just need to check, as Joe said. But in my case, these are all fake students anyway, so I'm not too worried for now. And if these were real students, I guess I could just maybe just put their first name and not their surname, and then it's slightly, yeah, less data given to the program. So what I want to do now is I want to find out their grades, and I want to use the grade boundaries published by the exam board. Let me get rid of my Bing chat here. So I found here the AQA exam boundaries, and here's German. So I've got German higher tier. So these are the points they need to get for the different grades. So the grades are there, 9, 8, blah, 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 blah. So, but first I need to turn this into percentages now. So you can actually ask ChatGPT to do that. And I've already prepared this prompt here. Let's use that. So here are the grade boundaries from 9 for the highest and 3 to the lowest. Write it as a table. And then I literally just copied in those grades from the grade boundary. And you can see it looks a bit messy, but actually ChatGPT can still work it out. The only thing I've done is I've taken out, where's my window now? I've taken out the max number here, so it doesn't get confused by that. So that it understands that 201 is the highest. Okay, so let me just quickly close this so I don't keep on mixing it up here. Got too many windows open. There you go. Okay, so first of all, I get this to write it as a table. Okay, so I can quickly check if it's done it right. Yes, grade 9, I need to get 201 points and so on. Yes, that seems to make sense. So now ChatGPT knows my grade boundaries. So now I can go back and then I will tell it this. Also, these are the percentages for my class. Write them as a table with the correct grades according to the grade boundaries above. Oh no, wait, first, this is just a grade boundary. So first we need to turn to enter percentages. So I need to say the max mark is, what was it, 240, add a column with percentages. Not sure if I need to make this step, but at least this way I can check if it's done it correctly. So that looks more or less right. 201 out of 240, yeah, that's probably the right percentage. So now I put in my class percentages. So I'll just copy them over here. But now I'm just doing the listening exam. So I copy the names and their percentages, and let's see if it can work me the grade boundaries, the correct grades. There we go. So now I know Luna got 29% and she would get a grade 3, Charlotte would get a 6, and so on. So let's quickly check if that makes sense. Yes, Luna did have 29%. And if we look at this table, 29%, oh, actually she would have got less than a 3. Let's see if the other ones are also wrong. 76. They're always slightly underneath. So the students need to get the percentage or above to get the grade. Correct the table. Let's see if it can correct. Still not very good, is it? 76% should be a grade 6. 6 and not 5. 84%. Somewhere it's gone a bit wrong. It did work last time. So I would say it is important that you still check the grades. And if you have ChatGPT 4, you now have data code interpreter built in, which is definitely a lot better at those kinds of math tasks. I mean, if I show you in the chat I had earlier, it did actually work it out correctly. So yeah, maybe I didn't make it clear enough that this is the lower boundary for each of the grades, and I think it does make it gives me better results for them. Okay, then another thing you can do is to get it to help you with interpreting data for your reports. So for example, if I feed it some of the data here, so here are the average percentages for our year 10 end of year exam, and I'm giving it the results, and then for each of the students, tell me for each skill how they compared with the average and what their strengths and weaknesses are. Don't give advice, just facts. And then I just copy in the table. And again, even though it looks a bit messy, it still works out where the titles go with these numbers there. And now it's giving me a quick overview about each of my students. So for example, if I look at Luna here, so it will tell me that her speaking was slow, her speaking was lower than the average, and it's a weakness, and it's telling me that her writing was higher than the average, and so on. So it's comparing each one with the average and it's giving me a quick overview of where their weaknesses and strengths lie. So it would then make it much quicker for me to write a report, for example, for these students, if the report is mainly based on their grade boundaries. And you can even help you more with actually writing the report. I mean, that's a bit of a moral dilemma in how far you should be writing the reports. But especially if you are writing reports in which you're literally just, yeah, reporting back to the parents how well the students have done in an exam, then this is a quick way of turning these grades into sentences. And then you can still add your own comments to it and say, for example, what they could do to improve and so on. So if I paste this report back in again, and I say, wait, where's it gone now? No, that's the wrong one. So let's try it again, sorry. Okay, so write up the results like in this example, and then I give it how I want it, namely in her end of year exam, Luna got so and so many % in her speaking, so much in her writing, and her listening she got this, and her reading she got this. So this is the kind of text that I want. So I can write this as part of my report. Yeah, but it's not doing it. Write it like the example. There you go. Okay, so this is a bit better. So now it's actually doing it like in the example. So I've got a little text. So Charlotte Brown achieved the following scores and so on. So I could then use this as part of their reports and add a little bit extra, and it saves me a lot of looking up numbers and so on. Okay, two more things. So one more to do with using Excel. And one way it has really, really helped me save a lot of time was in kind of using my resources more usefully and creating an overview of my resources. So what my problem was I had a long list of these video titles. So they are from a German language website called Deutsche Welle, and they have a German learning video every week about really random topics. So you can see them over here maybe. So there are some about culture, some about history, some about politics, lots of different topics. So sometimes when I want to do a video task with my students, I was thinking, oh, I bet this website has a good video about immigration or whatever our topic is, but it always took me really long to find the right video, because I would have to read through the whole list and work out which of them maybe has to do with immigration and so on. So what I did was I put the whole list of the titles in and asked it to create tags for me. And that just made it so much easier afterwards to find what I'm looking for. So if I copy these, oops, no. Okay, so I've got, here we go. So I'm putting in, here's a list of titles, write them in a table and write 3 tags into the second column, keep them as general as possible. So, and then I paste in my list of videos. Did I not copy them? Try it again. So copy the video titles. No, it's not letting me copy them. I know it has done it now. So, and now I can send it off, and within seconds, it's giving me that table. And for each of my video titles, it's giving me 3 tags, which will now make it a lot easier if I save this in a Excel spreadsheet. Next time I do immigration, I can just quickly search for the word immigration and see if any of them have this as their tag. And I can even sort them by certain topics. So, for example, I can say list all the titles that talk about politics, then all that talk about environment and about history. I'll put this in there. And now it's making me a list of all the video titles about politics. In this case, it's only based on the title. So if the title doesn't really reflect what's in the video, then it will not recognize that it's, for example, about politics. But it will pick out most of them at least, and it is still a lot easier and quicker this way than having to read all the different titles and trying to figure out myself which ones of them might be about politics or immigration and so on. So this has really made my resource a lot more useful here. Okay, and then last one, if you're planning a trip, so the next trip you plan and you need to write a letter to the parents, or you need to write a letter to the students to invite them to your trip, then here's a little trick. So you can either just say, write me a letter to the parents to ask for permissions to go to this and this trip, but actually quite a nice extra thing you can do is this. Let's turn on the chat history again. So I'm putting in, I'm planning a day trip for my, let's say, PCC students to the Chinese New Year's celebration in London. Ask me questions so you can write a letter to parents for me. So this way, it's asking me the questions that maybe I wouldn't have thought of before. So if we try that out, so it's now asking me to provide the answers or the correct dates and so on. And once I've answered all these questions, it then can write me the letter that actually includes everything that I need to include. So it's asking me for the date and so on. Yes, I would have thought of that anyway. But for example, will there be adult supervisors accompanying the students? Well, I wouldn't have maybe necessarily have thought about mentioning that in my letter. So either leave it out or I actually tell it. Here, do they need to bring specific items or prepare for the trip? Okay, so actually this is reminding me, oh yeah, they need to bring money for the restaurant, or they need to bring an umbrella and so on. How can parents contact you? Ah, yeah, that's a good thing I need to include in my letter. Maybe put in my phone number so they can ring me if there's an emergency and so on. So this is a great way. I can now just copy these questions, put them in here, answer them all and then say whatever the date. And once I've filled in all the information, I can then say, write me this letter to the parents, and it will include all this information that I've given it. So, and if you rerun this a couple of times as well, it will come up with even more questions to ask you. And this way you can really make sure that you have thought of all these different things when you're preparing your trip. And yeah, I would definitely have forgotten some of them. And this has made me really write better letters to the parents as well. Okay, I think I'm at the end of my list now. Are there any questions at the moment?
So we had a question which was around the tagging idea that you showed just before that last one.
Yeah.
Which is, can it actually see the videos on the website and that way get the tags?
Yeah.
Know what they are about?
Not if you're using the free version.
Right.
If you're using the paid for version, then yes. If you're using a web browser plugin, then yes. I mean, this is maybe also something, I don't know if Bing, well, I think Bing Chat would also only see the titles because it wouldn't necessarily go on to all the individual websites which talk about the video, but yeah. So no is the answer. At the moment, the tags are just based on the titles.
Okay, cool. I think those are all the questions. I think I tried my best to answer everyone's other questions, but does anyone else have any other questions? Lots of people have said thank you ever so much. I think a couple of them had to leave early.
That's okay.
Well, I say early after an hour and a half.
Yes.
But if anyone has any other questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. That'd be great. Have you had a play around with different the different plugins like Web Pilot and Wolfram and things like that?
Yes. Yeah, and I think there are some good ones. I mean, Web Pilot definitely is the best one. I mean, I purposely didn't speak about the plugins today because I just wanted to show what you can do for free really at the moment. But yeah, they do add, and especially now with Code Interpreter, which only come out this week, I think. I mean, that will be amazing it will just be so much more precise in dealing with all these spreadsheets and so on and analyzing the data. It doesn't make any of the mistakes that ChatGPT 3 makes. It is a lot stronger, I would say. So whoever can afford it, get the paid version, I would say. And because, I think, yeah, especially because you can use it for so many aspects of your life. I mean, it doesn't have to be for teaching. You can use it to plan your trip, your next holiday, and all these different things. So yeah, if you need to get one subscription in your life, I would say this is the one to rule your life.
So just to clarify for those people that don't know about how much it costs, it's around £19 a month, isn't it? I think at the moment.
It's $20. So yeah.
I think I'm charged £19. I had a look the other day. So yeah, $20, £19 is about the same same sort of amount. Yeah, I mean, in relation to anything to do with maths, I found that ChatGPT, the free version, is not brilliant, but I found that with the Wolfram plugin, with the ChatGPT 4 version, that it does a better job in general. But I think it's just one of those things it's not particularly brilliant at. But as you say, with the code interpreter, which I've heard of, but I haven't had a chance to have a play with yet. I think it's just going to get better and better and better, isn't it?
Yeah, code interpreter is amazing because it then allows you to actually upload documents onto ChatGPT and can look into your documents, both Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoint. Well, PowerPoints, I don't know, but PDFs and so on, and it can answer questions on them. So yeah, it's amazing, and it also can create documents for you to download. So it can create like a text file and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's moving at a scarily fast pace, isn't it? But I think with the Facebook group, with other Facebook groups as well, with people sharing ideas on a daily basis on Twitter, we can sort of keep up to date in these great webinars. So thank you so much, Julia, for sharing all your ideas. It's been really, really interesting, and I'm sure so many people have found lots of the ideas useful. I think particularly that edit GPT idea, people really seem to warm to that one. I hadn't thought about taking a screenshot and then sending that to the students and getting them to analyze the bits in red and the bits in green, and why they should be, why the ones in green are suggested in green. When I demonstrated this one live in webinars, etc., I was saying that you could use it maybe as like a live marking thing. So put in a student's work with permission, obviously, and then get it coming up live, and then asking the students face to face why they would, why ChatGPT doesn't like a particular expression, why it should be green, not red. But the idea of taking a screenshot and sharing that beforehand is a sort of flip way of doing it. I think that's great.
Yeah. No, it's a good plugin, but now we need a good tool to do handwriting OCR. That's what the world is missing.
Well, you can do Google Keep. With Google Keep, you can scan handwriting and turn it into digital text, but I don't know if it would work.
Google Keep met my students and their bad handwriting.
Yeah.
I mean, how good is it actually?
Yeah. Well, I have done that. I have used Google Keep with the grab image text on handwriting, and it has worked with like a sentence. I don't know if it would work with a whole essay. We'd have to try it out. Anyway, it is coming up to, in fact, it is 10 o'clock UK time right now. I'm sure your family is dying to see you, Julia. So maybe we should draw this to a close. But thank you so much on behalf of everyone for your ideas.
Yes, well, sorry for the computer problems, but I hope it was still useful. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you ever so much to everyone coming along now. We still have some people watching right now, which is lovely. And you'll see from the chat that lots of people have said thank you about the content that you've shared. It's been great. So on behalf of Helen, ALL, we're going to wrap up now. And the recording, as per normal, will be available on my YouTube channel, as well as on the ALL London website as well. And this will be the last Tilt webinar for the summer break. So I wish everyone a fantastic break, and we'll see everyone back in the autumn term. And no doubt we'll be doing more sessions on ChatGPT and AI in general, because we all need to keep up to date with what's all happening. It's amazing stuff. So I'm going to end. By
September, it will be all different already.
Absolutely.
Who knows?
And feel free, everyone, to have a play over the summer, but do have a break as well. That'd be great. Thanks ever so much, everyone. And I'm going to stop the session right now, and take care, everyone. We'll see you all in September, bright, awake and refreshed. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye.